In the year 597 BC, a man named Ezekiel found himself exiled to Babylon, far from his home in Israel. This was no ordinary man. He was both a priest and a prophet during a time of great upheaval for his people. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe. It's free, it helps this channel more than you'd think, and you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app, built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. Just search for it, it should be easy to find. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. As he takes in the vastness of the scene, bones stretching out in every direction, creating a macabre mosaic across the valley floor, Ezekiel begins to question what could have brought about such a desolate end. These are not just any bones, they bear the weight of history and the echoes of lives once lived. The sight is both sobering and mysterious, prompting him to ponder, can these dry bones, now reduced to mere fragments, ever find new life? The prophet's eyes sweep across the valley once more, taking in the breadth of the desolation before him. The sheer number of bones is staggering, each one a story unto itself, waiting to be awakened from its silent slumber. Ezekiel feels a stirring within himself, not just curiosity, but perhaps the beginnings of an answer. As he stands there, the wind picks up slightly, rustling the dry bones, as if whispering ancient secrets to him alone. Ezekiel takes a deep breath, letting the scene settle within his mind. He knows that this vision holds profound significance for his people, and he is determined to uncover its meaning. With a sense of resolve, Ezekiel prepares himself to confront the mystery before him, not just the valley of dry bones, but the future of his people and the promise of renewal hidden within this haunting sight. Ezekiel knows that he alone cannot bring life back to these dry bones. His response is humble and honest. "O Lord God, you alone know." The Lord's voice echoes through the valley, commanding Ezekiel to prophesy over these bones. Prophesy to these bones and say to them, "O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." As Ezekiel begins to prophesy, a subtle shift occurs. The bones start to rattle slightly, as if stirring from their slumber. The command continues. "This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones, I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life." Ezekiel watches in awe as tendons appear on the bones, connecting them and forming the framework of bodies. The valley transforms, no longer a graveyard, but a place of rejuvenation. God commands Ezekiel once more, "Prophesy to the breath, prophesy, Son of Man, and say to it, this is what the sovereign Lord says, come, breath, from the four winds and breathe into these slain, that they may live." As Ezekiel speaks these words, a powerful wind sweeps through the valley, bringing life to the dry bones. This is not an ordinary prophecy. It carries the weight of God's sovereign will. The very breath that gives life will be summoned through Ezekiel's words. His obedience sets in motion an incredible divine process, preparing the bones for the miraculous transformation that is about to unfold. With every word Ezekiel utters, the hope of revival begins to stir amidst the lifeless bones, foreshadowing a profound renewal that will bring new life and purpose to God's people. The stage is now set for an astonishing turn of events that will reveal the depth of God's power and love for his chosen ones. The rattling sound intensifies as more bones join the chorus, each bone finding its counterpart and locking into place. A skeletal form begins to take shape, the bones knitting together with an almost audible click. Before long, tendons appear on these newly formed skeletons, snaking around the joints and connecting bone to bone. The sight is both wondrous and eerie. The valley that was once silent and desolate now echoes with the strange symphony of bone and tendon. Yet, there is a sense of anticipation in this macabre ballet, as if something even more remarkable is about to unfold. As the tendons tighten and flex, they begin to pull taut, stretching out in preparation for what is yet to come. The valley quiets once more as the bones, now held together by these intricate networks of tendon, settle into their new forms. But there is no breath in them yet. The valley remains silent, the bones still lifeless. Then comes a shift. A subtle wind begins to pick up, whispering through the valley. Ezekiel watches as this gentle breeze grows in strength, gathering momentum from the four cardinal directions. This is no ordinary wind. It carries with it a profound significance, a force that is far greater than the sum of its parts. For in Ezekiel's prophecy, wind symbolizes spirit, the very breath of life that animates all living things. And now, this spirit is gathering, coalescing into something powerful and tangible. With each passing moment, the wind's intensity grows, the air thick with anticipation. Finally, in a great surge of force, the spirit enters the bodies. A sudden and mighty gust fills each frame with life's essence. And just as quickly, a great noise erupts from the valley, a symphony of awakening. God's power to restore life is demonstrated through this vision of resurrection, showing that even in the most hopeless conditions, there is hope. The transformation of dry bones into living beings symbolizes God's ability to bring about spiritual renewal and national restoration. For Israel, this vision promises a future where their spiritual aridity will be replaced with life and vitality. This prophecy serves as a reminder of God's promise to restore Israel, even in their most desperate circumstances. God explains that this vision pertains to the whole house of Israel, emphasizing his commitment to their collective restoration. The vision's message is clear. Just as the dry bones were brought to life, so too will Israel experience spiritual resurrection and national restoration. This hopeful reflection on the vision's significance leads us to consider Israel's future with renewed optimism. For generations, this passage has provided solace and inspiration during times of spiritual drought and national crisis. It serves as a beacon, a promise that even in the darkest moments, renewal is within reach. Yet, Ezekiel's vision does not merely describe their desolation, it offers a profound promise of spiritual renewal. This powerful imagery has served as an enduring source of encouragement for believers throughout history, assuring them that even in their darkest hours, there is always hope for rebirth and restoration. The vision's enduring relevance lies in its promise of a future where the scattered and lifeless are reunited and brought back to life, echoing the eternal truth that even the most desperate situations can be transformed by the breath of renewal. For those seeking spiritual renewal amidst personal or collective crises, Ezekiel's vision remains a beacon of hope, reminding us that no matter how bleak things may seem, the possibility of rebirth and revival is always present. It is a comforting promise that, even in our darkest moments, we can be reunited with the life-giving Spirit of God, just as Ezekiel's bones were brought back to life through the breath of the Lord. This vision continues to inspire and guide believers today, offering an unwavering message of hope and restoration that transcends time and circumstances. This valley represented the deep despair and covenant failure that the nation of Israel was experiencing during their time away from Jerusalem. Yet, amidst this desolation, God promised restoration and renewal for his people through Ezekiel's vision. The dry bones symbolize not only the state of Israel, but also the hope for their spiritual and national revival. Ezekiel's ministry during this period was a testament to God's enduring faithfulness, even in the midst of great adversity. This vision offers a timeless lesson. Even in our deepest despair and most hopeless situations, there is always the promise of renewal and restoration. As we reflect on Ezekiel's vision, we are reminded that no matter how desolate our circumstances may seem, there is always hope for a brighter future. This enduring relevance of Ezekiel's vision serves as a beacon of hope for believers across all generations. But when the Lord asked Ezekiel if these bones could live again, it offered a glimmer of future hope. That message of resurrection and renewal has resonated through the centuries. For generations, this passage has been interpreted as a message of resurrection hope for all believers, a promise that life can be restored even in the most barren circumstances. And Ezekiel's vision helps pinpoint our place on God's prophetic timeline, a reminder that even in the darkest times, a brighter future is possible. As we look to the future, Ezekiel's vision continues to offer a source of inspiration, a testament that no matter how scattered or lifeless things may seem, there is always the promise of restoration and new life. And so, we move forward with the assurance that even in the valley of dry bones, hope persists. As Ezekiel prophesies, he calls upon this ruach, asking it to breathe new life into the dry bones. The word used here is pashat, which means to blows or to breathe. It is not a gentle whisper, but a forceful command, a call to action that cannot be ignored. As Ezekiel watches the scene unfold, he understands that this vision is not just for him, but for all who have felt the weight of despair. The breath of God can reach into the most desolate places and bring hope, can breathe new life into even the driest of bones. In Jewish tradition, bones often symbolize the essence of a person or their destiny. They represent not just physical remains, but also the legacy and spiritual future of an individual or community. God's choice of this symbol is not arbitrary, but profoundly meaningful. It speaks to their state of utter desolation and separation from their land and heritage. Yet, within this stark imagery lies a promise: the breath of God can restore life even in the driest of bones. Ezekiel's vision of dry bones resurrecting is not an isolated event in biblical history. Other prophets have had similar visions that speak to the same themes of restoration and hope. Like Ezekiel, Isaiah speaks of God's power to bring life and renewal, even in the most barren places. In Jeremiah 1:5 we read, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you. Before you were born I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." Jeremiah's vision echoes Ezekiel's, underscoring God's foreknowledge and divine purpose in choosing prophets to deliver his message of restoration. These visions collectively reinforce the notion that even when things seem hopeless, God has a plan for redemption and renewal. The common thread is clear: from the desolate valley of dry bones to the foretold destinies of prophets, God's message remains consistent. Restoration and hope are always within reach. This dramatic sequence has profound implications for Jewish beliefs about resurrection. It affirms that life can be restored even to those who are long deceased, and that this process is initiated by divine command. The vision also influenced Passover celebrations. During the Seder meal, a symbolic plate is left empty for Elijah, acknowledging his anticipated role in heralding the Messianic age. Its enduring relevance lies in the timeless message that, even in times of greatest adversity, divine intervention can bring about restoration and hope. The vision reminds us that life's ultimate triumph lies not in human effort, but in divine will, a profound lesson woven into the fabric of Jewish faith and practice. As we continue to explore these ancient teachings, we find that their wisdom resonates deeply in our modern world, offering timeless insights into the nature of faith and hope. The Babylonian Empire, a formidable power of the time, had conquered the region, tearing apart the fabric of Jewish society and scattering its people across foreign lands. For Ezekiel, this was a deeply troubling reality. The prophet found himself among the exiled Jews in Babylon, witnessing firsthand the desolation of his people and their ancient traditions crumbling around them. The fall of Jerusalem marked a profound national trauma for Israel. It symbolized not just the loss of a city, but the seeming end of a divine covenant, an unbreakable promise between God and his chosen people. As we continue to explore this ancient prophecy, we will delve into its powerful imagery and profound implications for the faith and resilience of the people of Israel during their most trying times. The symbolism of dry bones in Jewish tradition is rich and multifaceted, deeply rooted in the sacred texts. In the Bible, dry bones often represent death and desolation, as vividly depicted in Ezekiel's vision. This powerful imagery has resonated throughout history, carrying profound implications for faith and resilience during times of trial. The theme of dry bones also appears in other prophetic texts. In Jeremiah 18:1-12, God shows the prophet a potter at work, symbolizing his power to shape and reshape Israel, just as a potter works with clay. The image of dry bones here serves as a stark contrast to the malleable clay. In Jewish literature, the symbolism of dry bones continues to hold significance. In the Talmud, the phrase, "These are the bones of those who rebelled against God," is used to emphasize the severity of sin and the consequences of disobedience. This imagery underscores the grave spiritual dangers faced by the people of Israel throughout their history. However, it also serves as a reminder of God's ultimate power to restore and revive even in the midst of utter desolation. As we continue to unravel the layers of this ancient prophecy, we find that its significance extends far beyond the historical context in which it was given. It offers timeless lessons on faith, hope, and the enduring power of God's promise to his people. In the quiet, calm moments of reflection, Ezekiel's vision reminds us that even in our darkest hours, there is always the possibility of renewal and restoration. This profound message has sustained generations of believers through their own trials and tribulations. Following Ezekiel's extraordinary vision of dry bones coming to life, the spiritual implications are profound. The vision represents a renewal of faith and covenant between God and Israel. As Ezekiel prophesies over the bones, they begin to come together, signifying God's power to bring life from death. The spiritual renewal promised in this vision is not just about the revival of the physical bodies of Israel. This spiritual renewal emphasizes the depth of restoration God intends for his people. When the Spirit of the Lord leads Ezekiel to a valley, he finds himself amid scattered bones so dry they seem destined for eternal desolation. Ezekiel's prophetic methodology involves vivid visions that serve as profound metaphors for spiritual conditions. But Ezekiel's role isn't just to depict this hopelessness. He is tasked with delivering a message of hope and renewal. Ezekiel responds with humility, acknowledging that only God knows if these bones can indeed come back to life. This isn't a simple answer. It's an invitation for God to reveal his power and plan. Breath, or spirit, is another potent symbol in this vision. This command echoes the creation story in Genesis, where God's breath gives life to Adam. The wind itself represents the Spirit of God, which can bring life and renewal to even the most desolate situations. As Ezekiel prophesies, a great noise and rattling are heard as the bones come together. This vivid metaphor of dry bones coming back to life is more than just a symbol, it's a promise and a prophecy. Babylonian culture during the time of Ezekiel's exile was rich in religious and philosophical beliefs that starkly contrasted with Israelite faith. At the heart of Babylonian religion lay their polytheistic system, where numerous deities ruled over various aspects of life. These gods were believed to control everything from weather patterns to human fate. Among these deities, Marduk held a significant position as the patron god of Babylon itself. His temple, the Exile, was considered one of the wonders of the ancient world. It was a magnificent structure, towering above the city with its intricate ziggurat design, symbolizing the divine power and majesty of Marduk. In stark contrast to this polytheistic view, Ezekiel's vision of dry bones coming back to life presented a singular God who held ultimate control over all aspects of existence. This monotheistic belief was profoundly different from Babylonian thought. Moreover, Babylonians believed in the idea of me, or the self, where individuals were seen as unique entities within a greater cosmic order. This personal identity was intricately tied to one's destiny and fate. However, Ezekiel's vision underscored that even the individual's fate could be altered by divine intervention, a radical departure from Babylonian thought. The vision of the Valley of Dry Bones thus served as a powerful counterpoint to Babylonian culture. It challenged the prevailing beliefs about life, death, and the role of divinity in human existence. For the exiled Israelites, this message must have been both comforting and revolutionary, offering them a sense of hope amidst despair. In conclusion, analysing aspects of Babylonian religion and philosophy that contrast with Ezekiel's vision highlights how profoundly different these belief systems were. the stark contrast between Israelite faith and foreign influence during this period underscores the unique power and promise of Ezekiel's prophecy for his people. This deep dive into Babylonian culture reveals the context within which Ezekiel's vision was both a source of hope and a challenge to prevailing beliefs. It showcases how religious thought can shape our understanding of life, death, and the divine offering, a glimpse into the profound messages embedded in ancient prophecies like that of the Valley of Dry Bones. As we reflect on this contrast, we see that Ezekiel's vision was not just a metaphorical story, but a promise rooted in deep spiritual significance. It offered a message of renewal and hope that transcended the cyclical fate of Babylonian thought, presenting instead a divine intervention capable of bringing life from death itself. Ezekiel follows God's command, and as he prophesies, an astonishing transformation begins to unfold. This spiritual restoration is not merely a distant dream, but a real possibility with divine intervention and guidance. For the exiled Israelites, this message of hope and renewal is urgently needed to counter their despair and rekindle their faith. The vision of dry bones coming to life serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always hope and potential for divine restoration. Nebuchadnezzar II, also known as Nabu-Kudurri-User, was a powerful king who expanded the Babylonian Empire through numerous military campaigns. His conquests stretched from modern-day Iraq to Egypt and included significant parts of the Levant. One of his most notable victories was against the Egyptian pharaoh Necho II at the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BC. This battle solidified Babylon's control over much of the ancient Near East. Under Nebuchadnezzar's rule, Babylon became one of the most powerful empires of its time. His military prowess and strategic alliances allowed him to maintain control over a vast territory. In 597 BC, Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to Jerusalem. This event marked the beginning of what is now known as the Babylonian exile for the Israelites. This exile was a traumatic event for the Israelites, separating them from their land and religious center, the Temple in Jerusalem. It created a sense of despair and national failure that Ezekiel's prophecy addresses. Ezekiel's prophetic lineage is deeply rooted in the rich history of Israelite prophets, reaching back to figures like Jeremiah and Isaiah. Jeremiah, often called the weeping prophet, served before Ezekiel's time, delivering poignant messages of warning and hope. Isaiah, known for his vivid visions, also had a profound impact on Ezekiel's ministry. Ezekiel himself was of priestly lineage, with his father Buzi being a prominent figure in the Jerusalem temple. This lineage gave Ezekiel a unique perspective, bridging both priestly duties and prophetic insights. His connection to these esteemed prophets provided a strong foundation for his own ministry, allowing him to speak with authority on matters of national despair and hope. Ezekiel's lineage thus places him within a grand narrative of divine revelation and national restoration, deepening the significance of his prophecies. Ezekiel's prophetic lineage highlights the unbroken thread of divine guidance and hope that runs through Israel's history. His words carry the weight of generations of prophets who stood in this same tradition, making his vision all the more powerful and meaningful. In ancient Israelite culture, bones held profound significance, both culturally and religiously. They were not merely the remnants of deceased bodies, but vessels that carried symbolic weight and spiritual implications. This vision carries significant religious implications, demonstrating God's power to resurrect even in the most hopeless of circumstances. It offers a message of hope and restoration for the exiled Israelites. The symbolism extends beyond Ezekiel's prophecy. In Jewish tradition, bones are often associated with remembrance and respect. The phrase "dust to dust" reflects the biblical concept of human mortality and the eventual return to the earth. Rituals involving bones, such as those performed during the ossuary process, are deeply rooted in Jewish tradition. These practices signify a profound respect for the dead and an acknowledgement of their ultimate return to the earth. The cultural significance of bones is further highlighted by their mention in other biblical contexts. In Leviticus 21:11, the defilement of a corpse is considered so grave that it can contaminate an entire camp. This emphasizes the spiritual and physical sanctity of human remains, underscoring the idea that bones are more than just inert material. They carry the essence of life and death, making them powerful symbols in both religious and cultural contexts. When God commands breath to enter these bones, it signifies a divine intervention that brings hope and renewal in the midst of despair. This act of resurrection is both literal and metaphorical, embodying the promise of Israel's restoration. Understanding this symbolism deepens our appreciation for Ezekiel's vision. It is not merely a prophecy of future events, but also a profound spiritual message that resonates with the cultural and religious significance of bones in ancient Israelite society. In this context, the symbolism of bones in Hebrew culture becomes a poignant testament to faith and resilience, echoing through generations and offering comfort and inspiration for believers today. Metaphors in prophetic messages often serve as powerful tools to convey complex spiritual truths. The use of vivid imagery and symbolism can illuminate abstract concepts, making them more accessible and meaningful to the audience. Other prophets in the Bible similarly used metaphors to convey divine messages. For instance, Jeremiah's potter and clay parable in Jeremiah 18:1-12 is a striking example of how a simple metaphor can encapsulate a deep spiritual truth. In this passage, God likens Israel to clay in the hands of a potter. Just as a potter can reshape and reform a flawed vessel, so too can God intervene and transform his people. This metaphor emphasizes the malleability of Israel under divine guidance and underscores God's ability to rebuild and restore, even when circumstances seem hopeless. This step-by-step revival symbolizes God's power to bring about complete renewal and restoration for his people. It serves as a beacon of hope amidst the darkness of their exile. In understanding these metaphors, we see that they are not just vivid imagery, but profound teachings about God's capabilities and his unwavering commitment to the restoration of his people. Imagine, after the destruction of Jerusalem and the loss of their sacred land, the people of Israel are scattered and far from home. Ezekiel's vision offers a glimmer of hope in this bleak landscape, showing that even in their most desolate state, there is potential for renewal. It implies that just as the dry bones can be restored to life by God's breath, so too can the people of Israel experience a spiritual resurrection. This vision would have inspired renewed faith and hope in the hearts of those who heard it. As a result, worship practices might have shifted to reflect this newfound hope and anticipation of God's promises coming true. The promise of restoration would also have significant practical implications for the societal structures of the exiled Israelites. It could lead to efforts towards rebuilding communities and reinforcing social bonds, mirroring the spiritual revival depicted in Ezekiel's vision. In essence, the implications of restoration are not limited to spiritual realms, but extend into the practical aspects of life among the exiled. This vision provides a comprehensive view of how God's promises can transform both the spiritual and practical lives of his people. The Israelites found themselves in an unfamiliar land, far from their homes and the temple in Jerusalem. Babylon was a city of immense wealth and power, with towering ziggurats reaching towards the sky. Here, amidst grandeur and opulence, the Israelites lived in humble dwellings. Many were relegated to menial tasks, their daily lives filled with back-breaking labor. The heat of Babylon's sun-scorched plains was relentless, a stark contrast to the cooler climates they once knew. Without their sacred rituals and familiar rhythms of life, the Israelites felt disoriented. Their religious practices were reduced to clandestine gatherings under the cover of night. In these desperate times, the promise of a Messiah who would restore their fortunes seemed like a distant dream. The dry bones coming to life signified that even in their most desolate state, God had not forgotten them. It was a beacon that their exile would one day end and they would be reunited with their land and their God. This vision, a promise of resurrection and renewal, held deep meaning for the weary exiles. The spiritual landscape was filled with false prophets and skeptics, making it difficult for Ezekiel to be taken seriously. Adding to this struggle were personal crises that Ezekiel himself endured. His wife died suddenly, which left him in a state of profound grief. Despite his personal pain, Ezekiel was commanded by God to act out the vision of the dry bones, further deepening the symbolism and significance of this prophecy. Ezekiel's resilience in the face of these obstacles is a testament to his commitment to delivering God's message. This story illustrates that even in the darkest times, there is hope for resurrection and rebirth, provided one has the courage to face the challenges head-on. In the Bible, Ruach translates to both wind and spirit. This dual meaning is not coincidental. It reflects an intimate connection between breath, wind, and divine presence. Ruach appears in the very first verses of Genesis, where God's Spirit hovers over the waters. This primordial wind carries the creative power of life. In Exodus 14:21, Moses stretches out his hand over the sea, and a strong east wind divides the waters, allowing the Israelites to pass on dry ground. This miraculous event demonstrates how Ruach can be harnessed for redemption and deliverance. This command underscores how wind, or Ruach, is a life-giving force from the divine. The breath enters the dry bones, reassembling them into living beings, symbolizing Israel's renewal and resurrection amidst their exile. Ezekiel's vision thus carries a multifaceted symbolism: hope amidst despair, life from death, and the divine breath as a force of rebirth. Few biblical visions have sparked as much enduring fascination and interpretation as Ezekiel's vision of dry bones. Modern scholars view this vivid prophecy through a variety of lenses, each offering unique insights. They see it as a powerful symbol of hope amidst despair, reflecting the plight and longing of the exiled people for restoration and renewal. Cultural anthropologists, on the other hand, explore how this image of lifeless bones coming back to life resonates with ancient Near Eastern beliefs and rituals. Some suggest that the vision might be drawing on ancient myths where divine breath can restore life to inanimate objects. Theological interpretations frequently focus on the divine breath that brings the bones to life. Many see this as a prefiguring of Christian resurrection beliefs, where the Spirit of God animates dead bodies with new life. Spiritual leaders also point to the vision's broader message of God's transformative power and promise of renewal. One striking parallel is the story of Pentecost in Acts, where the Holy Spirit descends as a mighty wind and fills believers with new life and purpose. Despite diverse interpretations, the vision's core message of hope and restoration remains a unifying theme. It bridges the gap between ancient text and modern insights, demonstrating the enduring relevance of Ezekiel's vision. The tale of Ezekiel, one of the most revered prophets in Jewish history, begins with his extraordinary calling. This is not a story of gradual revelations, but rather an intense, immediate encounter with the divine. Ezekiel hears a voice commanding him, "Son of man, stand on your feet and I will speak to you." This is the beginning of his prophetic journey, one filled with vivid visions and powerful messages. In one of his earlier encounters, Ezekiel witnesses the glory of God leaving Jerusalem, symbolizing the impending exile of Israel. Another notable vision involves Ezekiel eating a scroll containing words of lamentation, mourning, and woe. This symbolic act underscores the weighty messages he is to deliver. These visions are not isolated events, but rather part of a continuous journey, guiding Ezekiel through his prophetic mission. Thus, Ezekiel's vision did not stand alone, but rather underscored a continuous journey, guiding Israel through their darkest hours towards the promise of renewal and hope. The valley itself is a stark symbol of despair and hopelessness, representing the state of exiled Israel. The command, "Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord," underscores the divine authority behind this transformation. Understanding the literary devices Ezekiel uses deepens our appreciation for how this powerful message was crafted for impact. In Jeremiah 18:1-12, the prophet sees God shaping Israel like a potter shapes clay. Just as dry bones can be resurrected, so too can Israel be remolded and renewed. Daniel's vision of the four beasts rising from the sea, Daniel 7:1-8, shares a similar theme of transformation and restoration, albeit on a larger scale. Through these visions, prophets like Ezekiel convey a message of resilience and renewal amidst despair and exile. As we continue our exploration, it becomes clear that Ezekiel's vision is a part of an intricate and interconnected web of biblical prophecies. This understanding helps us see the greater narrative being woven throughout these visions, a narrative of hope, restoration, and divine intervention. The city of Babylon, located in modern-day Iraq, was a bustling metropolis with architectural marvels like the Hanging Gardens and the Tower of Babel. It was a center of learning, commerce, and cultural exchange. For the Israelites, however, life in Babylon meant adapting to new customs and social structures. They found themselves living in close quarters with other exiled communities, creating a multicultural tapestry within the city walls. The Babylonian society was hierarchical, with the king at its apex and various social classes beneath him. The Israelites, as captives, were considered part of the lower echelons, but their presence added to the city's diversity. Cultural practices in Babylon revolved around religious rituals and festivals honoring deities like Marduk and Ishtar. These ceremonies were elaborate affairs involving processions, offerings, and grand celebrations. In this new environment, Ezekiel and his fellow exiles struggled to maintain their own religious practices and traditions. The rituals and festivals of the Israelites, so deeply rooted in their history and identity, were often seen as foreign and alien by their Babylonian neighbors. Yet, despite the challenges, there was a resilience among the Israelites. They formed tight-knit communities, relying on each other for support and strength in exile. These communities became hubs of cultural preservation, where stories of their homeland were told, prayers recited, and traditions passed down to the next generation. It was in this context, surrounded by the vibrant but sometimes oppressive culture of Babylon, that Ezekiel received his prophetic visions. The vision of the dry bones coming to life, therefore, wasn't just a spiritual message, it was a symbol of hope in an otherwise bleak reality. This understanding deepens our appreciation for Ezekiel's prophecies, revealing them not just as divine communications, but as profound reflections on the human condition in exile. Isaiah, who prophesied during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, warned against trusting in alliances with other nations. His message emphasized that true security comes from God alone. Isaiah's stark warnings about the consequences of disobedience echo throughout his writings, serving as a powerful reminder of divine judgment. Finally, Hosea's prophecies during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah focused on the unfaithfulness of Israel. He used vivid metaphors to illustrate God's love for his people despite their infidelities. This theme of divine faithfulness, even in the face of human failure, is a central thread in Hosea's writings. It is within this context of profound despair and hopelessness that Ezekiel finds himself. As a prophet, he carries the weight of delivering God's message to a people who have lost faith. His psychological state is one of burden and responsibility. He knows that his words have the power to either comfort or alarm, to offer hope or instill fear. This vision offers insight into Ezekiel's personal journey. Despite the despair and hopelessness, he remains steadfast in his faith and commitment to delivering God's message. For example, in Mesopotamian mythology, the story of Etana features a significant connection to birds, a symbol often associated with renewal and spiritual ascent. The eagle, in particular, is seen as a messenger between the divine realm and humanity. In Egyptian culture, the phoenix, or Bennu bird, symbolizes rebirth and resurrection. The phoenix dies in a show of flames and combustion, only to be reborn from its own ashes, a potent image of renewal similar to Ezekiel's vision. In Greek mythology, Prometheus, defying the gods, gives life to clay figures through his creative ingenuity, a parallel to Ezekiel's role in receiving and delivering God's command for revitalization. These cultural parallels serve to deepen our understanding of the universal relevance of Ezekiel's vision within its historical context. They show that themes of rebirth and divine intervention are not unique to Judaism, but resonate across different ancient cultures. In this sense, Ezekiel's vision goes beyond mere historical context. It speaks to a timeless human longing for renewal and redemption, echoed through various cultures over the millennia. In this vision, he sees 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces and 4 wings, surrounding a fiery, radiant throne on which sits the sovereign Lord. Above the throne is a vault or dome, and from within it, Ezekiel observes what appears to be wheels intertwining. The description of these living creatures is striking. Each has the face of a human, a lion on the right side, an ox on the left side, and an eagle soaring overhead. These creatures have 4 wings, 2 covering their bodies and 2 lifting them up. He sees God leaving the temple, symbolizing the abandonment of his people due to their sins and idolatry. This departure is a stark contrast to the vision of dry bones, where Ezekiel prophesies over the lifeless remains to bring them back to life. In chapter 10, Ezekiel witnesses the destruction of Jerusalem, a symbolic act that highlights the severity of Israel's transgressions and the consequences of their actions. The devastation is stark and powerful. This sequence shows that Ezekiel's visions are not isolated incidents, but part of a continuous revelation, revealing the depth and complexity of God's interactions with his people. By understanding this broader context, we appreciate how Ezekiel's vision of dry bones fits into a larger narrative of divine judgment and redemption. Ezekiel, humble and honest in his response, acknowledges that he does not know if these bones can live again. This humility is a hallmark of Ezekiel's character, a comforter who speaks the truth and offers hope amidst despair. By maintaining this hope, Ezekiel continues to be a comforting voice among the exiles, reminding them of God's unfailing promise and power. In ancient Israelite society, bones held deep significance beyond their physical form. They were considered sacred remnants of the body, symbolizing both life and death. Burial practices in ancient Israel involved careful attention to bones. Once flesh had decayed, the bones were collected and either reburied or preserved as a mark of respect. This reverence for bones reflected a cultural belief in the afterlife and a connection to ancestors. It was believed that even after death, the spirit could continue to exist within or near the remains of the deceased. For Ezekiel's audience, hearing about dry bones coming to life would have resonated deeply. It would have reminded them of their own hope for restoration and renewal amidst their exile in Babylon. This vision offered a glimmer of hope that even when all seems lost, there is still the promise of life and restoration from God. Thus, the symbolism of dry bones in Ezekiel's vision carries a powerful message that continues to resonate today. Even in our deepest desolation, there is always room for hope and resurrection. And as the dry bones rattled together and came to life at Ezekiel's prophecy, so too do we find solace in knowing that even in our most trying times, new life and renewal are always within reach. In the New Testament, Jesus references this same image of dry bones coming to life in John 11:44, where he instructs Lazarus to come out of his tomb, just as Ezekiel's vision symbolizes a resurrection from spiritual and physical death. Ezekiel's prophecy also finds parallels in Jeremiah 18:1-12, which discusses the reshaping of Israel into a new nation. This parallel suggests that God's promise of renewal extends beyond Ezekiel's time and offers hope for future generations. The book of Daniel further echoes this theme in Daniel 12:2, where the dead are resurrected to receive their eternal reward or punishment. This vision aligns with Ezekiel's prophecy, indicating a consistent narrative thread across different biblical texts. These connections reveal the enduring influence of Ezekiel's vision throughout the biblical narrative, demonstrating its relevance and resonance across different eras of Israel's history. As we delve deeper into these texts, it becomes clear that Ezekiel's vision is not just a singular event, but a foundational element of the broader narrative of Israel's redemption and renewal. In each case, the imagery of dry bones coming to life serves as a powerful symbol of hope and restoration, underscoring God's enduring promise to his people. These references demonstrate that Ezekiel's vision continues to hold profound significance in the New Testament era and beyond, affirming its lasting legacy in shaping biblical thought. Through these connections, we see how Ezekiel's vision has influenced subsequent prophecies and scriptures, illustrating its enduring relevance in the broader biblical narrative. The recurring theme of resurrection and renewal across these texts underscores the timeless message of Ezekiel's vision. Even in the darkest times, hope and new life are always within reach. As we ponder these connections, we are reminded that God's promise of renewal is a constant theme throughout the biblical narrative, offering comfort and hope to all generations. Ezekiel's vision continues to resonate deeply within the faith, providing a powerful image of restoration and redemption that transcends time. Israelites who were far from Jerusalem during this time maintained spiritual practices that were deeply rooted in their traditions. They gathered in small groups for prayer and the study of sacred texts, keeping alive a sense of community amidst the dispersal. These gatherings were often held secretly, as the Babylonian rulers sought to suppress any reminders of Israelite culture and faith. Despite the risks, these small acts of defiance kept the spiritual flame alive. The rituals they performed, such as the Passover feast, symbolized their longing for freedom and return to the Promised Land. These acts were not mere echoes of past traditions, but profound expressions of their current plight. Imagine Ezekiel witnessing these small gatherings under the cover of night, where whispers of hope and prayers for deliverance filled the air. This spirit of endurance resonated deeply within his prophecies. The vision culminates with the breath entering the bones and bringing them back to life, a potent metaphor for the spiritual revival Ezekiel witnessed among his people. In ancient Israel, prophets like Ezekiel didn't receive their calling in a vacuum. They were part of prophetic schools that fostered spiritual growth and training. These schools, often led by renowned prophets like Elijah or Elisha, were places where aspiring prophets could learn the intricacies of divine communication and spiritual discernment. Ezekiel himself was likely influenced by these great mentors, learning to hear the voice of God amidst the chaos and turmoil of his time. The training wasn't just about hearing, it was also about delivering God's message with clarity and conviction. Ezekiel's vivid visions were a testament to his rigorous preparation. His prophetic training taught him the importance of symbolism and metaphor in conveying deep spiritual truths, like the dry bones representing the lifeless state of Israel during their exile. Through his training, Ezekiel learned how to bring hope even in the direst circumstances, transforming the seemingly hopeless into a promise of restoration and renewal. This humility is a hallmark of Ezekiel's prophetic style, reflecting the deep training he received in understanding and conveying the divine will. The breath entering the bones is more than a mere metaphor. It's a concrete promise of spiritual rebirth and national renewal. Ezekiel's vision introduces a new paradigm into Jewish thought, the concept of spiritual rebirth. Before this revelation, the idea of renewal was often tied to temporal events and physical resurgences. But Ezekiel's prophecy redefines this notion, suggesting that true restoration comes from within a breath from God. These doctrinal shifts begin to reshape worship practices. Services start to incorporate more elements of hope and renewal, reflecting the promise inherent in Ezekiel's vision. The high holy days, such as Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, take on new significance. These days are no longer just about reflection and atonement, but also about the anticipation of spiritual rebirth and national restoration. As Ezekiel prophesies, a sound echoes through the valley, a whisper of breath entering lifeless forms. This divine intervention underscores that even when all seems lost, God can still intervene and bring life from death. The vision's far-reaching implications are evident in the evolution of Jewish thought. It challenges traditional views of redemption and introduces new concepts like spiritual rebirth that profoundly shape Jewish doctrine. In this renewed understanding, the breath of God is not just a symbol, but an active force capable of resurrecting the spiritually dead. This belief fortifies the faith of the exiled Israelites and paves the way for centuries of religious practice built on hope. As breath fills the dry bones, a collective sigh echoes through the valley. This spiritual awakening marks a pivotal moment in Jewish history, a promise that resonates through generations. The Babylonian Empire was known for its architectural marvels and advanced irrigation systems, which supported a highly sophisticated urban society. In this vibrant setting, Israelites encountered the rich cultural heritage of Babylonia, including its literature, sciences, and religious practices. Despite the intellectual stimulation, life in exile was fraught with challenges. The Israelites grappled with homesickness, displacement, and a sense of spiritual desolation. Their forced relocation tore them away from their sacred places and traditions, leaving many questioning their faith and the promises of God. The prophecy served as a powerful reminder that even in the most dire circumstances, God could restore and revive his people. In this context, the resurrection imagery resonated deeply, offering a tangible promise of redemption and renewal for the exiled nation. The vivid prophecy provided a much-needed spiritual anchor amidst the tumultuous realities of their exile. The spiritual renewal promised in Ezekiel's vision deepens our understanding of God's enduring commitment to his people. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, there is always hope and restoration on the horizon. In the heart of Babylonian exile, Ezekiel receives a revelation that will forever alter the spiritual landscape of Israel. Ezekiel finds himself in the midst of an eerie tableau, surrounded by scattered remnants of what once were living beings. The Spirit of the Lord moves him to this place, a stark visual metaphor for the state of Israel during their darkest hours. God's intervention here is not mere coincidence, but a divine orchestration aimed at delivering a critical message. Ezekiel, guided by the Spirit, sees the desolation as a symbol of Israel's spiritual and national despair. The question underscores the impossibility of Israel's restoration without divine intervention. This moment of divine inspiration highlights the necessity for Ezekiel's prophecy to bring life back to these lifeless bones. The culmination of this vision is a testament to the power of God's inspiration and Ezekiel's faithfulness. The divine guidance that led Ezekiel to this valley underscores the authenticity of his prophetic ministry. Throughout the Hebrew Bible, we find numerous accounts of dreams and visions that conveyed divine messages and foretold significant events. For instance, Joseph's dream in Genesis 37:5-11 predicted his future prominence among his brothers, while Daniel's visions in the book of Daniel revealed future kingdoms and their downfall. These prophetic experiences were considered authentic means through which God communicated his will and plans. This tradition of divine communication through dreams and visions was not unique to Ezekiel, but a fundamental aspect of Israelite spirituality, providing guidance and reassurance during times of crisis and uncertainty. The cultural significance of such experiences underscores their role in shaping the religious practices and beliefs of ancient Israelites. Ezekiel's vision, like those before him, served to remind the people of God's sovereignty and his unfailing promise of restoration and renewal. Bones, in the biblical context, often signify death and hopelessness. In Ezekiel's vision, the valley filled with scattered and very dry bones symbolizes the utter desolation and lifelessness of the people of Israel during their exile. The state of these bones being scattered across a valley floor, covering it entirely, paints a grim picture of the nation's predicament. This despair is echoed in God's question to Ezekiel, "Son of man, can these bones live?" But Ezekiel's vision does not leave the people in this state of despair. Instead, it offers a glimmer of hope through the symbolism of wind and breath. The wind, or breath, as referred to in Ezekiel 37:9, represents God's Spirit. This breath is the very essence that brings life and restoration. This prophecy sets in motion a miraculous sequence. The bones come together, form skeletons, and are covered with tendons, flesh, and skin, all symbolizing the renewal and revitalization of the nation. The final step in this transformation is the breath entering the bodies, bringing them to life with a great noise. This symbolizes the ultimate restoration and renewal of Israel. Thus, Ezekiel's vision is not just a grim reminder of death, but also a powerful promise of life and resurrection. It serves as both a physical and spiritual symbol, reassuring the people that even in their darkest hours, God can breathe new life into them. This prophetic symbolism is particularly poignant given the historical context of Israel's exile and their desperate circumstances. It offers hope amidst national despair and covenant failure. In essence, the vision of Ezekiel 37,014 is a beacon of restoration rooted in Israel's historical reality. It demonstrates God's power to restore life and offers a promise of renewal for his people. This was not just a bleak landscape, it symbolized Israel's utter desolation and separation from their homeland. This prophetic impact was more than just a prediction. It redefined how the exiled Israelites viewed themselves and their future. The once scattered and lifeless bones now stood as a symbol of hope and renewal. It was a powerful message that even in their darkest hour, God could breathe new life into Israel. This vision fostered a new sense of identity among the exiled, reminding them that they were not merely cast-offs, but rather part of a nation with a divine promise of restoration. Even as they remained in captivity, the vision served as a beacon of their true identity and a future where God would revive them spiritually and physically. Ezekiel's visions are among the most profound in Scripture, offering hope to a people in despair. But what was it like for Ezekiel himself? What was his psychological state during these extraordinary revelations? Imagine being transported by the Spirit of God to such a place, not just in his dreams, but while fully conscious. It's a stark image, countless bones scattered, completely dry and lifeless. For a prophet in exile, seeing this desolate scene must evoke deep feelings of loss and hopelessness. But what might such visions do to the psychological state of someone like Ezekiel? Scripture doesn't provide direct insight into Ezekiel's internal thoughts or emotions during these experiences. Yet, the impact on his psychological state is evident in the messages he conveys. Wind, or ruach in Hebrew, holds profound significance in ancient Israelite culture and scriptures. It is more than just the natural phenomenon we perceive, it carries spiritual and symbolic weight. In Genesis, God's breath is described as forming the very first human. The text reads, "Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." This act signifies God's life-giving power and the intimate connection between humanity and divine spirit. This resonates deeply with Israelite beliefs about the wind being a manifestation of God's spirit. We find a striking parallel. Here, King Hezekiah receives an ominous letter from the king of Assyria threatening destruction. But instead of despairing, he turns to God for guidance. The parallels between this story and Ezekiel's vision are profound. Both involve a situation that seems hopeless, yet offers a glimpse of divine intervention. This message offers profound comfort to those who feel lost or abandoned, reassuring them that even in the most desolate of valleys, there is always a chance for resurrection and rebirth. This prophetic resonance serves as a beacon for believers, guiding them through their own journeys of faith and reminding them that no matter how bleak the landscape may appear, there is always the promise of renewal on the horizon. The imagery of lifeless bones being infused with breath has profoundly influenced key liturgical texts in Jewish tradition. In the context of Jewish prayer and worship, Ezekiel's vision serves as a potent symbol of renewal and hope. The imagery of dry bones coming to life is particularly resonant during significant holidays such as Yom Kippur or Passover. During these holy days, the theme of renewal and rebirth is central to the liturgy. For instance, on Yom Kippur, a day of atonement and spiritual cleansing, prayers often evoke Ezekiel's vision. These prayers might include lines that speak to the breath of life being breathed into a people who have lost their way. Similarly, during Passover, which celebrates the Israelites' liberation from bondage, the idea of being brought back to life is significant. In this context, Ezekiel's vision underscores the notion of spiritual and physical rebirth after a period of exile or suffering. This integration of Ezekiel's vision into Jewish liturgy is more than just symbolic. It serves as a tangible reminder of God's unwavering promise to restore and renew. Even today, this ancient vision remains relevant in modern Jewish spirituality, emphasizing continuity and restoration. The imagery and symbolism in Ezekiel's vision are powerful because they not only convey God's power, but also his deep care for his people. Even in their darkest hour, he promises renewal. Verse 13 is particularly striking. "And you shall know that I am the Lord, when I open your graves, O my people, and bring you up from your graves." This promise offers a glimmer of hope even in the face of extreme adversity. Before Ezekiel, there were other prophets who also spoke for God. Isaiah and Jeremiah were two of the most prominent among them. Isaiah, often referred to as the prophet of comfort, delivered messages that promised restoration and hope for the people of Israel. He prophesied during a time of great turmoil, assuring the exiled Jews that God had not forgotten them and would eventually bring them back to their homeland. Jeremiah, on the other hand, was known as the weeping prophet. His messages were often warnings of impending judgment and exile if the people did not turn from their sinful ways. While Isaiah offered hope, Jeremiah delivered stark warnings that went largely unheeded by the people of Israel. Both prophets played crucial roles in shaping the religious and cultural landscape of ancient Israel, setting the stage for Ezekiel's own prophecies. And, like Jeremiah, Ezekiel delivered a strong warning about the consequences of disobedience and the need for repentance. The prophetic lineage that includes Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel serves as a testament to God's enduring commitment to his people. Understanding this prophetic lineage offers a deeper appreciation of Ezekiel's role within the broader narrative of Israelite history and faith. The exile in Babylon had left the Israelites in a state of despair, their national identity and religious practice under threat. Ezekiel's message of restoration could have kindled hope among the exiled and unease within Babylon. For Babylon's rulers, who saw themselves as divine, any prophecy hinting at a rival power could be perceived as a challenge to their hegemony. The vision's message of renewal might have stirred political defiance among the exiled Israelites, fostering dreams of independence and a return to their former glory. While it is uncertain how far-reaching these sentiments were, Ezekiel's words could have served as a powerful rallying cry during this period of national despair. Moreover, the vision might have carried implications for regional allies and rivals, not as political acts in themselves, but as symbols of Israel's enduring resilience. In this context, the vision offered more than spiritual hope. It was a beacon of political potential, hinting at a future where Israel's sovereignty and influence could be restored. It was a message that Ezekiel was meant to deliver, one that promised not just personal redemption, but the restoration of an entire nation's political and spiritual vitality. This promise held significance for both Israelites and Babylonians, the former finding hope in their identity, the latter potentially sensing a shifting balance of power. In this way, Ezekiel's prophecy deepened the understanding of restoration, showing it as a multifaceted process that touched on spiritual renewal and political resurgence. For those who heard Ezekiel's words in Babylon, this vision served as a reminder of Israel's indomitable spirit and the enduring promises of their divine covenant. The profound implications of Ezekiel's vision transcended the immediate moment, offering a glimpse into a future where Israel's political and spiritual sovereignty could be fully realized. For centuries, notable prophets and scholars have delved into the layers of meaning within this passage. Each interpretation adds depth to our understanding of God's promise to restore life to Israel, even in their darkest hours. In the early centuries of Christianity, prominent figures like Origen and Jerome saw this vision as a metaphor for spiritual rebirth. They believed that Ezekiel's dry bones symbolized the spiritual lifelessness of humanity, with God's breath offering new life through faith in Christ. This interpretation resonated with the early Christian communities who were grappling with their own spiritual exile and seeking renewal. It provided a comforting message of hope during challenging times. During the Middle Ages, mystics such as Bernard of Clairvaux saw the vision as an allegory for the resurrection of the dead at the end of time. They believed that the valley represented a place of final judgment and redemption, where all will be made new in Christ. This interpretation underscored the eternal hope that believers have in God's ultimate restoration and resurrection, aligning Ezekiel's vision with broader eschatological themes in Christian thought. This interpretation has been particularly resonant during periods of national crisis and spiritual drought, offering a beacon of hope to Jewish communities worldwide. The enduring relevance of Ezekiel's vision lies in its ability to transcend time and context, speaking powerfully to both the historical plight of Israel and the eternal hope of resurrection. By understanding how this vision has been interpreted across different eras, we deepen our appreciation for its complex layers of meaning and its lasting impact on Jewish theology and practice. In quiet reflection on this vision, we can find solace and inspiration for our own journey of faith, knowing that even in the valley of despair, there is always the breath of life waiting to be breathed into us. As we hand off this narrative, let's carry with us the profound lessons of Ezekiel's vision, the promise of restoration, the hope of renewal, and the unwavering faith in a divine power that can bring life even to the driest of bones.